Inspired by the life of the savvy and ambitious Colombian businesswoman Griselda Blanco comes a new Netflix original limited series. Griselda tells the story of a devoted mother who, with her lethal blend of charm and relentless savagery, creates one of the most powerful cartels in history. Witness Sofia Vergara's captivating transformation into the godmother of the underworld. Griselda, streaming January 25th, only on Netflix.
Join me, 48 Hours correspondent Erin Moriarty, on my podcast, My Life of Crime, as I take on true crime investigations like no other. This season, I'm looking into the labyrinth of crime and secrets within families. I'm cutting straight to the evidence and talking to the people directly involved, including investigators and the families of victims. Listen to My Life of Crime with Erin Moriarty wherever you get your podcasts.
A note to listeners, the following podcast contains content that may not be suitable for all audiences. Discretion is advised.
The police believe that she just ran away and they didn't care.
I just think there's a way meaner and scarier person behind it that Conn and everybody is afraid of, that can get them in or out of jail.
Her Molly, she had one of the best hearts.
One could predict things, and they said she had a black veil over her face when she was born.
You are listening to Partners in True Crime. We are your hosts, Rob and Cindy Dorfman.
Can you imagine being a teenager and having your best friend disappear?
It has to be surreal because at that age, you think that you're invincible.
Exactly. And to have all this speculation flying around and never knowing what happened, I mean, I can't even imagine what Molly's friends have been through. Today, we're going to speak to two of Molly's best friends, Courtney, who was on the TV show with us, and Jordan.
Well, Courtney, thank you so much for talking to us today. I have Rob here also.
Hey, Courtney, how are you?
I don't know if you remember.
I'm trying to, but...
Yeah, I was the director and the producer.
He was just that guy behind the camera.
I might be 24, but I have a very bad memory.
It's okay, honey. Don't worry.
That's okay.
Okay, so I wanted to talk to you just to kind of understand, because we're doing this podcast now to help Paula and to help Molly, to try to find out if someone's going to say something that maybe can help us figure out what happened. Because it's been now since we talked to you 3 years, and still nothing's happened, which is really upsetting.
In my opinion, I feel like something would have came up from Conn or somebody. Got to be someone else behind it that they're way more scared of that can get them out here or in jail.
Do you have some ideas in your head on who you think that could be?
Because I'm not like I don't know those types of crowds or anybody that would run around it, so...
Yeah.
I barely even know people in my town.
Yeah.
Yeah, I understand.
I wanted just to hear from you about Molly and what kind of person she was and what your friendship was like before all this happened.
Yeah, because I think whenever we met, her mom had just gotten a tattoo for her mom passing, and I didn't know my mom and her were friends. Just hopped in the car. I didn't know who she was, and she was just like, well, let's just go hang out. It's like, I don't know you, lady. She could get you out of your comfort zone really, really quickly, but you'd still be comfortable at least.
Was that the beginning of your friendship?
Yep, she just hopped right in the car.
So she was a risk taker.
Very, very.
How old were you when that happened?
13? 7th going into 8th, I think.
Yeah, so around 4 years before all this happened.
Yeah.
So when you guys started becoming friends, did you hang out all the time?
My mom would have to ground us from each other, and her papa would have to.
Why is that?
If you seen one, you knew the other one was right behind. We weren't anywhere without each other. Like, Papa Alex would just say, y'all stressing me out. Y'all just take a break from each other.
So you guys were like sisters.
Yeah.
The last time that you saw Molly, what happened?
I seen her July 4th was actually the last time. We had Taylor with us.
Okay, so July 4th was like 3 days before this happened.
Yeah, because Wilson had a fireworks show, and us three were going to go watch it and stuff, and then she was like, man, this is boring. And she just said, I'm going to go. And then she went walking and got in the truck with, I think it was Levi, and then just took off. I had to go to my dad's that night, so I didn't.
You couldn't go out?
Yeah.
Who was Levi? Is that another friend?
I'm sure his name's been around.
Yeah. But she wasn't dating him.
No, she just got him for a ride, and then she probably went. There's no telling. Because I seen Levi later, and he had some other guy with him.
Later that night?
Yeah, like within probably 30 minutes. I said, where's she at? He said, I don't know. She had me drop her off at the store, and then she just took off. In which that is Molly. You never know.
She just did her own thing.
Yeah.
Did she ever tell you about her relationship with Colt Haynes before she went missing?
She never told me. I had no idea.
She wouldn't talk about him. You knew nothing about him even beforehand.
And I don't think Taylor did either.
Did she have a boyfriend, or did she talk about any boys that she liked or anything?
There was one, and that was Tanner Skelton.
Tanner, yeah.
Yeah, he's which they had been broken up for a while, but when they broke up, it didn't last. So we just figured
they were still kind of dating back and forth.
She lived her own style and stuff, and never knew what she was gonna do. And from the moment of me being at my dad's on July 4th till that day, a whole lot of crap was completely different that I had no idea of.
What did you find out about those 3 days leading up to her disappearance?
I didn't hear from her.
Was that unusual?
No.
So she would drop off the radar, like you'd hang out for a little bit, and then you wouldn't hear from her,
Yeah.
3 days, 4 days, 5 days, and then she would just come and pop back in and like nothing ever happened.
Whoever she was like hanging out with, she'd be preoccupied. She didn't care much for her phone. She lived in the moment, and so whenever she would be home, charge her phone or whatever, that's when I'd hear from her.
So you didn't hear from her at all after that 4th of July?
Until whenever she tried to call that morning, but I was asleep, so.
And this was the morning after the car chase?
Yeah, when they were all calling all their friends and stuff. My phone call was at around 6:30 in the morning.
And you didn't answer the phone?
I was knocked out at 6:30.
Did she leave a message?
Because I know I was half awake and my dad was getting ready for work, and I texted her like, what's up, or I'm sleeping, what's up? And I did not hear a single word. I texted her after I woke up like 3 or 4 different times.
You didn't think anything like this would have happened to her?
No. That would be the last thing on my mind for still nothing. I just thought, whatever it was, she's busy now.
When did you find out that Molly was missing?
I think it was the next day, because I was being a, teenage rebel, and I told my dad that I was going home, but I didn't tell Mom I was going home. And I went to hang out with Levi, and me and him hung out the whole night. Never seen Molly, never heard Molly, anything about her. And because Mom asked me if I knew where she was at, they said she took off. I said, no, I have no idea. And I really didn't, because my mom still bugs me about it. She says, if you know anything, I said, Mom, do you think for Molly to be like a sister to me, I would have told everybody the instant anybody asked, because I've done it before. When she was dating Tanner, I think it was a year or 2 before this, her stepdad said to come home at 10. She looked at me and said, should I go home? I said, yes, Molly. And she said, no, went to Tanner's and tried to stay the night in his camper behind his grandparents, and her stepdad came uptown. He said, "Do you know where she's at?" I said, "Yeah, she's at Tanner's." No hesitation. He said, "I was there." He said, "Did you check the camper behind the house?"
Did she not like being at home, or is it you just being a rebellious teenager?
She did. She just didn't like to stay in one spot.
When did you first think something was wrong?
Whenever my mom was crying and freaking out, asking if I was with her that night, I said no. And I just didn't think nothing of it because, Molly would take off sometimes, but when names were flying, I had no idea because when she would take off, it was with Tanner. So I was completely confused.
So you didn't know that she would be hanging out with Conn and Colt. That was not a normal thing.
Well, with Conn, yeah, that was, but the Colt Haynes, I had never even heard of Colt Haynes stuff. I knew of his brother, Dove. Molly never said anything to me. His name wasn't thrown around with anybody in my age group, so.
Because he was older.
Yeah.
And what about Conn? What did you know about him?
That she was related to him, and a girl, Michaela, she was a grade above us. I knew that was her brother.
Did they hang out a lot?
Well, sometimes they're just always getting stoned.
Yeah, what was Conn's reputation around town at that point?
He was the one that didn't do much until his buddy Colt Battles would go to jail, and then he would try to be the Colt Battles while he was in jail.
Who's Colt Battles?
I forget y'all are from Wilson. He is a, dear Lord, he's just crazy. Not like in a bad way. He gets on your nerves.
Yeah, it's the first time I've ever heard his name.
Colt Battles is probably 28, 29. He dated my cousin forever.
What was his reputation in town?
The one with the hot rod truck.
So Conn wanted to be like him?
Yeah.
And then you said when Colt Battles would be in jail, you said? Then Conn...
Try to act like him, and it was obvious. He's Tanner Skelton's cousin.
Oh, so Tanner, who dated Molly, that's his cousin.
Yeah. He's a teeny tiny town.
Yeah. Is he a big guy, or is he a small guy? Or?
No. If you add a few inches to me with a little bit of weight, that would be Colt.
So Tanner, Colt, Conn, Molly, everybody knew each other. And Michaela, Conn's sister, what was she like?
The complete opposite. She's nice. All females, including myself, can be a bit of bitches. And she's played softball and sports and stuff, but she was really nice.
Did you ever talk to her after Molly's disappearance?
No, I mean, I tried to, but it just felt awkward.
Yeah. When she disappeared, all people that were actually talking kind of just clammed up.
I think they were all I think names were just being thrown because it's a small town. So if you say something, a word's going to get changed each time it goes to somebody else.
Yeah, the telephone game.
Did you think that Conn would have hurt her if they knew each other and they spent time together? Were you surprised when his name was coming up in this?
Yeah, because he would have, like I said, he would try to be like Colt, but I don't think he would have ever hurt a fly. And I have my own opinions about it, but I just think there's a way meaner and scarier person behind it that Conn and everybody is afraid of that can get them in or out of jail. They wouldn't be safe no matter what.
What did you think had happened to Molly?
At first, I just figured they were out and had a fun night. I really didn't know. And then after the phone calls, and then even like the Brandon Smith, he didn't talk to Molly much, but we were all in high school. When he said she called him, It's like, well, that's odd. I still don't know. Like, I don't like to think about it.
No, I understand. It's really tough. This gentleman Colt Battles you were talking about, does he still hang out with Conn? Nip?
No.
No.
Colt's gotten his stuff straight. He was in jail when all this happened anyways.
What was he in jail for?
Hot rodding on Main Street and then running from the cops.
It's interesting that the high-speed chase happened while Colt Battles was in jail and Conn looked up to him. Sounds like Conn looked up to a lot of people and emulated their bad behavior. If Colt Battles wasn't in jail, maybe Conn wouldn't have gone on the high-speed chase that night.
You told us before something about a dream that you had about Molly. Can you tell me what that was?
Whenever we were all trying to get some type of answers, I'm not super religious, but I had just prayed something, give me, like, tell me, pretty much just begging for an answer. And then I went to sleep, and graduation was still months away. And my dream, it felt so real. Like I was really on stage getting my diploma, and I looked to my mom to see Molly standing right by her, but she was completely drenched in water, like she just got out of the lake. Her hair was just soaked, her clothes, and there was some green grass that would look like seaweed in ponds. It was in her hair and on her clothes, and my mom nodded her head like, it's real, she's right here. And I went and gave her a hug, and it felt so real that I woke up from it and still I couldn't figure out what was reality and what was the dream.
Did you think that maybe she was put into a lake or a body of water after that?
I figured that's how they got rid of her. I don't know.
Have you had any dreams about Molly since then?
No.
Do you ever feel her energy?
Well, there's like times, like a song will come on or a memory, or I'll smell a smell, if that makes sense, and a memory pops up and I'll think about her. And I feel like I'm taken back for a moment in time. I don't know if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense. You had a very strong, visceral dream that took you back there.
So you have some kind of intuition that you're accessing. But I think we all have intuition, Courtney. And I think that this is Molly was trying to get a message to you from the other side.
I mean, that night before, I was just like, begging and pleading, crying for something. So I probably might have, energies open. I don't know. Apparently on my papa's side, there's a lot of, not psychics, but one could predict things. And they said Molly, she had a black veil when she was born over her face.
Did you think that you would find her?
Well, we were very hopeful.
I can't imagine what it's like to have one of your best friends just disappear. I mean, how did it feel?
Depressing. But I'm the type of person that I'm going to hold it in. Because her family, and especially Alex, I couldn't handle it. I didn't want them to also have to worry. Because Alex, he treated me like another grandkid. I had my chore list when I came over and everything. I just didn't want him to have too much on his plate.
Yeah, he looked like he had suffered quite a bit.
I had a hard time seeing him a lot because it just, we didn't talk about happy memories. Like we did, but it didn't make anybody happy.
Weeks after she went missing, and at what point did you realize that she may never come back?
I think after 4 years was when I realized.
So you had hope that she would come back even after 4 years?
Yeah, I had, because, people thought she changed her, or, moved countries. I don't know. I just sat there and thought, well, hell, if she did, she can call. maybe she wants to be away for a while.
What happened at the 4-year mark that made you think that, okay, she's not coming?
That it had been that long with no peeps, nothing, not even just a little hint or clue as to where she is or what could have happened. I still, whenever they officially declared the word, I still didn't believe it. It's just hard to make it seem real.
What is your hopes for the investigation and finding out what happened to her? Does it make a difference to you now because it's not going to bring her back, or do you want to see whoever was responsible for this brought to justice?
I don't want the details. I don't want to know what happened, how it happened. I just want her home. It's not going to make a difference. Whoever did it, their name might have been thrown around. It might not have. You know, they could have been suspected and they did it.
You okay? I know this is difficult.
I'm sorry, Courtney. You're a good friend. She was lucky to have you.
Whoever did it, like, names have been thrown. Like, it wouldn't be a shock. I don't think anything would be. It's just the only thing that really matters is if she can come home, or at least we can all just know for sure. Because I think even if confirmed with evidence, I'd probably still won't believe it anyways.
I always forget that Conn is a distant cousin to Molly.
You would think the guilt would eat him alive. I thought it was interesting that Courtney said she didn't think Conn would hurt a fly.
Obviously, Courtney didn't know Conn like Katie did, which just goes to show how you never really know what someone is up to. Which is terrifying when you think about it.
Jordan is another one of Molly's friends, and this is the first time we are speaking with her.
Hello.
Hi, Jordan. This is Cindy. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for talking with us. I also have my partner, Rob.
Hi, Jordan. How are you?
Okay. Hi. For sure.
I just want to know, what was your relationship with Molly? How did you meet her?
I met Molly when we were in the 1st or 2nd grade. We went to school together up until we were sophomore, juniors in high school, and just always been around each other, just from living in Wilson together and then just going to school and doing sports and activities together.
So you met Molly in 1st grade. Oh, wow. What was she like?
Oh, she was just so much fun to be around. She's always so happy and just had the most bubbly personality. Everybody just kind of gravitated toward her because she's just always so happy and just a fun person.
Why don't we jump forward here? What was it like for you when you first heard of Molly's disappearance?
It was heartbreaking. Whether you're close or you're not, we live in such a small town, you hate to hear of anybody going through something horrible, or in Molly's case, I mean, it was crushing. I didn't ever want to see Molly hurt her any sort of way, emotionally or anything like that, and to find out she just went missing, it took a toll on me. Emotionally, I kind of felt like I failed her in some ways, like I didn't keep trying to push her in the right direction, and I just kind of let our friendship go to the wayside, and I felt a lot of guilt just missing her presence around town, because I'd see her once or twice a week, just wave at her, say hi, but it's a lot of emotions.
Yeah, it's a horrible thing that happened. And
when someone you grew up with has just vanished into thin air and you don't know what's happened. It's a lot of emotion.
I can't even imagine. Like, how do you cycle through those emotions? Were you participating in any of the searches? Did you do anything?
Any searches they went on, I made a point to be there. I started helping Paula, and then some of her other family members were all searching for her. But I started selling T-shirts to help raise money for if they needed money for a reward or to fund searches, anything like that. I was selling T-shirts, jewelry, headbands, and I was meeting people to hang up flyers and just participate, anything to raise awareness for Molly.
How did you first hear what happened?
I honestly think I read it on Facebook. Somebody had asked if they had seen Molly or had any information about Molly. And then I think the next thing I heard was there was a search for her. And I went, And that's where I made the connection with Paula. Just started mine and Paula's relationship from there.
So when you were doing the searches, and obviously you were around other people in the neighborhood and everybody knew Molly, what were some of the conversations on theories about why she's missing and how could she be missing? I mean, because from what we've understood is that initially the law enforcement said that she just ran away with Colt, and was that kind of like the purveying theory initially when people were looking for her, or did they think that she was gone and she's not coming back and she's dead?
Initially, I remember us all thinking, like, on that very first search, I just remember we all thought we were going to find her, like she's just lost in the woods. So I don't think it was more than like maybe a week. It could have been longer that, we heard that she was missing to the search time. But I honestly thought we'd just find her somewhere in the woods and we'd bring her home that day. And then that hope just kind of diminished after that first search. And we started thinking, what's happened? Where's Colt at even? What went wrong? Where's she at? And I had heard rumors like she's just ran off to like a different state, like she's in Texas somewhere and things like that. But she would have shown up pretty soon after we found that out.
Yeah, it didn't seem like she just took off.
No, because Molly would have came back at some point to talk to her grandpa. I mean, they were very close. She would have made contact with some of her friends, her very close friends. Just say, hey, this is where I'm at, or this is what's going on. She would have made contact very soon. She would have found a way to.
How would you describe her personality? Was she loyal? Was she just the type of person to keep secrets for other people? I mean, how would you describe her?
I would describe her as just goofy, just fun-loving, goofy. She was a loyal person. I think she would have helped you out in any way she could have before she started hanging out with some different people. But she was a good girl. She was a lot of fun to be around. When up in high school, she was a lot of fun.
Did you know when she started hanging around with different people, did you know who those people were and their backgrounds? And did you see any warning signs there?
Yes. Started hanging out with some of the people that was going to go to high school with us, and they weren't, the best of people. And then really when we got into high school, our freshman year, she started hanging out with just some of the people that didn't have the best of reputations, and that was hard to see her change her personality in a way and start hanging out with just people that aren't known for very good things and knowing that she's going down that path.
Were they involved in drugs?
Yes, drugs, partying, just not really caring about school or kind of what was going on around. It's just what was good for them and how they were going to have the most fun.
Were you surprised that Molly got caught up in a group like that?
Yes and no. Whenever Molly's grandma passed away, she kind of her personality changed then and started going down a different path. But whenever she started hanging out with all those people, it was pretty surprising.
So let's talk about her grandparents. What was her relationship like with her grandparents?
Oh, Molly loved her grandma. Her grandma done so much for her. I remember she was just an amazing lady. And then Alex, her grandpa, he loved Molly, loved her so much, and Molly loved him back. He was one of the best guys I've ever met. I mean, just do anything for her. He actually called her, it was Pie. He would call Molly Pie. And that they just had an amazing relationship. Whenever she went missing, it devastated him, crushed him, and he never stopped searching for Molly. Never, ever stopped searching for Molly. And it was hard. It took a toll on his health, and it was very sad to watch him go through that.
And he just recently passed away. I met Alex.
Yes.
He was lovely.
Oh.
You could see in his face that this really destroyed him, and it was really heartbreaking to talk to him because he just wanted resolution. He wanted to bring her home.
That's all he wanted, exactly.
How old was Molly when her grandmother passed away?
Oh, I want to say we were in the 6th or 7th grade whenever that happened. She was younger in middle school.
Do you think that her grandmother passing away kind of led to her pain? Losing her grandmother led her to drugs?
I believe that did have I believe that did have a part in it, yes.
Did you know Colt Haynes? Do you know who he is?
I did not know.
Were you surprised that she was in the car with him and Conn Nip?
Yes.
What do you know about Conn?
I actually went to school with his sister. She was a year older than I am, but I really don't know much about him other than just Molly's case. I had never heard of him before or anything like that.
What was his sister like?
Oh my gosh, her and Molly were actually friends for a little bit. She was very athletic. She was fun to be around, and she spoke her mind. Did not care if she didn't. She would just speak her mind and tell it how it was, and I really liked that about her. Michaela was a year older than me. We played sports together in high school until I quit. But she's so athletic. Was very passionate about softball. She was fun to be around, and she was, if she didn't like something, she would tell you how it is and just spoke her mind. She was a good girl.
So she was a straight shooter, Michaela.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, yes.
So if Michaela said something, it would pretty much be you would believe her.
Yes.
Okay. And you'd never ran into Conn or heard about him before this?
No.
Did you know anything about the family? Like, was there any kind of just overall kind of rumors about the family?
Or Joe Russell, the
sheriff, all those people?
No, I had never heard anything up until Molly had went missing. Then I started hearing things about them, but it's just the general kind of what they were like. And I had never didn't even know who Joe Russell was until probably midway through Molly's disappearance.
So what were some of the things that you were hearing about Molly's disappearance that stuck in your head?
That's hard because there's a lot of things. I remember hearing one thing that I always go back to. I remember hearing that she was just hid out in Texas and at Wichita Falls, to be exact. And I remember just holding on to that hope that she was there. And then a photo surfaced that kind of looked just like her, but it turned out not to be her. It was a picture of a girl at Walmart, and she looked so much like Molly. And I just remember holding on to that was Molly. That was Molly, and that she'd come home soon. But I mean, that's been years and years ago. So that's one of the things I remember just seeing and hearing, that she was there. And then I seen that picture, and I wish it was her, but it wasn't.
What do you think happened to her?
Honestly, I don't know. I know that she did not make it out of those woods, and I honestly don't want to think of what exactly happened to her. I don't want to know what she went through, because whatever it was, it obviously was not good.
Do you think they'll ever find her remains or Colt at all?
I think so. I know it didn't go long, but I'm holding on to that hope that they will. Somebody sometime will find her in him.
In that area where you live, what have people been saying about this case? Have they been still talking about it, or is it...
People will mention it every now and then, but they don't talk about it near as much as they used to. And when it initially happened, everybody was kind of in disbelief, like, this doesn't happen here. Nobody goes missing here. Nothing bad, nothing tragic, bad like that happens here. And for that to really happen, it was hard for people to believe that, but so.
Can you tell me a little bit about your town? How big is it? Where it is? How far away is it from a big city? And what is it like?
We are about an hour and a half away from Oklahoma City. I want to say we have maybe 3,000 people, if that. Like, I'm just grasping at straws. You can walk from one side of the town to the other. We have a convenience store, or two convenience stores, and a Dollar General. That's all we have here. And a grocery store. It's very small, close-knit, top of town.
So everybody kind of knows each other?
Yes, small, close-knit town, because everybody knew her grandpa. Everybody knew of Molly, just from Alex being so proud of her and talking about sports and going to every single one of her games. Everybody knew who he was and knew of Molly. Yeah, I think everybody's kind of come to the realization she's not coming home alive, and that's hard to grasp.
So when Molly went missing, I would imagine this was huge news at the time in a town that small.
Yes.
And what were people thinking? I mean, what did they think happened?
I think a lot of people thought she just ran away, that she just has ran off with them, and she'll eventually come back around.
Does stuff like that happen in your town? Did people just run away and don't tell anybody where they...
Sure, every once in a while a kid will run away from home because they got mad at their mom or dad, but they're found within hours to a day. They either come back home or the police find them.
Did you knew Molly, so did you think that was plausible, that she would just run off?
I thought it could be a possibility, but when she didn't come back after a week, I knew something was off.
When you met Paula, I'm sure she started telling you a lot of things about what was happening. And what did you think about that? What did she tell you?
I just remember her saying, just kind of telling me like something went wrong. She's been hurt. And I remember just thinking, oh my God, why? Like, what could she have done to been hurt? I just can't imagine why somebody would hurt anybody, but hurt Molly. Yeah, she was goofy, but she had one of the best hearts. She was just loved fun. She was never angry or mean to anybody. So I just can't imagine somebody actually hurting her.
Do you think she may have saw something that she wasn't supposed to?
I think that's very possible.
In your town, like you said, it doesn't seem like something like this would ever really happen. Were people kind of like in disbelief as law enforcement starts getting involved and all these searches are happening and Paula's on the news now every week? And what were people saying? I mean, I can't even imagine.
They wanted to know what happened also. And they didn't understand. And
were you scared? Like that this could happen to someone else?
No, I don't think so. No.
So they thought maybe this was just an isolated incident.
Yes.
What did you know about the methamphetamine drug wave is pretty pervasive in Oklahoma area? Is it something that's fairly known in that area, or is it something that people just kind of just don't talk about but know about?
A little bit of both. We know it's around. We know people do it here, but we just I want to hope that it doesn't happen, but we know it does.
And did you think Molly would have ever gotten caught up into that culture?
I think it's a possibility, yes. I don't know for a fact because I wasn't hanging around with her at the time. So
she just lost her grandmother. She probably was searching for something. And
yes.
It seems like if she was gravitating towards a group like that with older guys, it's a different situation. Do you think that she was craving attention or looking for a boyfriend or anything like that when you were friends with her? Did she talk about that?
I think she was just looking for maybe some attention, but just maybe even acceptance in some way. But I mean, just kind of whatever every teenager is looking for.
What is your biggest hope with her case, and what could possibly create some sort of closure for the family and all the friends? And still no answer, just coming off the heels of another missing young woman being killed, the Gabby story. What can you hope for the family and the friends for Molly?
I hope that she's found, because I would love to know that she was found, just for the sake of how hard everybody's worked to find her, especially Paula. Paula's put in so many years now and so much work and time, and I mean, she's sacrificed so much just to help find her. I hope she's found just for closure. I was talking to my husband about the Gabby case, like how crazy it is that she went missing and they found her so fast, and then you have Molly that's been missing for years now, and she's still not found, and it's really sad to me.
Do you think there's multiple people involved in this, or do you think it's just one person?
Honestly, I don't know. I do not know.
Why do you think it's taking so long to find her?
I think at the very beginning, from the get-go, it was the police believed that she was just a runaway, and they didn't care. They just thought she'd come back home, and then just the corrupt law enforcement, after they thought, well, maybe she's not coming back. Well, just all the things that has happened. I mean, they just didn't care. If they cared, things like someone or something, which is always like manipulating things or things like that, it just wasn't important to them.
And do you think that might be because Molly was around people on drugs, or she possibly was on drugs? I've worked on a lot of cases where women who were prostitutes go missing, or women who are on drugs go missing, and they don't get the media attention that people who look like Gabby Petito do, or people who are college students or whatnot. So do you think that played a role in this?
I don't think so. I think It's because of Bluff County Sheriff. Whenever he called off the search from the beginning, whenever they were in the high-speed chase and he called it off from the beginning, his involvement has hindered a lot of that. A lot of things that could have helped find Molly.
Joe Russell.
And that's just my personal opinion on that.
And Joe Russell is related to Conn Nip, who was driving the car.
Correct, yes.
It always seems to go back to the same thread, that Conn Nip was driving the car, Joe Russell called off the search, and then Molly is never found.
Exactly.
To me, those people know more than they're saying. That's my opinion.
Yes, I agree.
Is there any chatter amongst the people in your town at the time? Was there chatter on who could have been involved as more of the story unraveled and they found out that Joe Russell called off the search and Conn Nip was the driver and Colt was in there?
I don't think initially people knew that Joe had called off the search after they initiated the high-speed chase, and I don't think people realized that at first. So they didn't talk about it until that came out, and then of course people started talking and wondered why he done that, this and that.
But when it did come out and people started learning about more of the details, what was the overall reaction in the community? Stuff like this happens, they say, well, she got involved with the wrong people and she put herself in that position. Or was it like, who's covering this up? Why don't we know more about this?
It was more of the latter. Why did they do that? Why did he call off the search? And why did somebody not follow him? Because they knew it was a dead-end road. Why they not just continue on?
They called off the chase, and then that was it. It's like 3 people go in the woods and only one person comes out. Why would he call off the chase? It just makes no sense. What would you like us to know about Molly that maybe people don't know about her?
Molly had a big heart, very tender heart. She did not like to see anybody hurting. She didn't want to see anybody sad. She was a genuine person, and everybody takes different paths, but she was a great person. She was so fun. I mean, she's just one of the good people. And I mean, I don't know how to explain it. You just had to know her, and you would have understood her. She is a great friend, and it's really sad that this has went on this long and there's no answers.
Yeah. Are you aware of what's going on right now with her case?
Honestly, I may know a little, but I kind of distance myself in a way. I keep in touch with Paula and talk to her every once in a while. And yes.
So you're aware of that. To give you a little update, the FBI is now involved.
Yes.
Her disappearance has been basically ruled a death. Now it's turned into a different type of investigation. We can only hope that they find out more information to what happened. I don't know where that investigation is going to lead. Part of the reason that we're doing this is to hopefully make an environment for some people to come out and talk about this that were afraid to talk about it before.
Right.
Knowing that there's a stronger investigation going out. It seems like in these small towns, as you tell me, it's a very small town, everyone kind of knows what's going on, but no one really wants to talk about it. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
Do you think they're afraid to say anything?
Yes and no.
Well, I think initially they probably were afraid to come out because Joe Russell was still the sheriff and he was somewhat connected. But I think now, with all this time has passed, he's been thrown from his position as sheriff, and there's a new sheriff in there, and they're actually reinvestigating this case as well. Do you think anybody will come forward?
I sure hope so. I don't know.
Well, Jordan, thank you so much for talking with us about Molly.
Yes,
it's just really nice to talk to people that knew her before all of this tragedy happened and knew her when she was little, and we really appreciate your time, and thank you so much. Both Jordan and Courtney mentioned Conn's sister, Michaela. Shortly after Molly and Colt went missing, Michaela went to the police and made a statement about Conn Nip, her brother. We actually have that statement. This was a voluntary statement made to Carter County Sheriff's Department by Michaela on July 20th, 2013 at 5:21 p.m. It reads, "My brother, Conn Nip, and I was talking, 7/16/13, and he said, quote, he was about to go to jail for murder, quote," and there's a little heart next to murder on the left-hand side. "I didn't believe him. The following day was 7/17/13. He told me the same thing and was more serious about it, so I believed him. Then from murder, there's an arrow that goes down and says, murder that was going to be pinned on him. Her mother was the witness, so her mother knew that she made this statement. Now, this is 12 days after Molly went missing. Everyone we've spoken to has said that Michaela, Conn's sister, was a good person, an honest person, a kind person, a straight shooter, someone who was going to tell you how it was. The fact that she went to law enforcement and she went to Carter County, she didn't go to Love County. She went to Carter County and she wrote a statement about her brother and what he had said to her. It just says to me that no one wanted to look into this.
No.
You can't just say that that's a throwaway statement. I wouldn't go and accuse my sibling of saying something like that if it wasn't true, would you?
No, not at all.
I mean, it's just crazy making. Another thing that's really crazy about this case is that Conn Knipp was never formally questioned by police until Joe Russell got a statement from him 3 weeks after the car chase. We just happen to have that statement.
Yes, we do. And I have it on official Joe Russell stationery, not a police report, official. It's dated July 23rd. And I'm going to read it to you right now. And I apologize if it sounds a little wordy or syntax issues, because that's the way it is. He wrote it in his own handwriting and his own verbiage. So on July 23rd, 2013, I, Sheriff Joe Russell, went to the Knipp residence on Long Hollow Road. I spoke with Conn Knipp and asked him if he knew where the runaway girl Molly Miller was, or how to get a hold of her. He advised he had no idea where she was at. The last contact he had with them was when a car pulled up to his residence with 6 people inside and asked him if they could go look on his property, that Colt had broke his ankle and they needed to find him. He advised them no, and that they could call him and he could talk to them. They called on the phone and Conn talked to Colt. While he was talking to Colt, he could hear a radio in the background. And then he hung up. At this time, he knew they were trying to pull something on him. I asked him if he knew how to get a hold of her, and if he did, to let her know to please call her mother. I talked to Conn and his grandfather for about an hour and a half. All this time, Conn showed no signs of being upset. I also asked Conn if he had done anything to this girl, and he advised me no. And he thought Molly Miller was in Wichita Falls, Texas. He also said a lot of other people knew where she was at. He also advised if Colt Haynes was missing, there would be some men looking for him. That was serious. They could come to him and want to know where his brother was, and they would mean business. What does that mean? Mean business.
Who are these men? Well, there's a couple of things here that are a little sketchy with this statement.
Well, main thing sketchy is that Joe shouldn't have been questioning him at all.
No.
He should have recused himself. He should have had an independent law enforcement go up there and talk to Conn. Not him. He's related to him.
Yeah, it's definitely inappropriate.
And there should have been another witness there besides Sheriff Joe.
Right.
Which we don't know. It doesn't say this here.
No, it doesn't say that there's any witness there except for him. So he could have just wrote whatever he wanted to write. Those people that had gone to the Knipp house were Colt and Molly's friends who had driven over there looking for them. Conn had spoken to Colt on the phone. He even writes that here in the statement.
Yep.
And what? Colt and Molly just disappeared into thin air. And it's a little suspicious to me that right after this, the news media and everybody was saying that Molly was in Wichita Falls, Texas.
Yep.
I mean, so did they start this rumor to kind of get the heat off of them? Most likely. It sounds like it.
Too many questions. Too many questions.
It's just not the way it should be done. I mean, even this statement alone, at this time he knew they were trying to pull something on him. Again, this goes back to what Katie said, how the Knipp family likes to pretend that they're the victims in this. They are not the victims in this. Conn was driving the car. Molly and Colt were in the car. Everybody knows this. This is a fact. So how come Colt and Molly vanish into thin air? Conn is walking around and he's going to pretend that the reason why he didn't go get them is because they were trying to pull something on him. It's crazy making.
It is crazy making. It was like, this is weeks after. So he already knew what happened to them. And the gaslighting campaign starts right there.
Absolutely.
And they continue to do that. They continue to gaslight everybody who points the finger at them when their names are the only ones that come up.
Over and over and over again.
Next time on Partners in True Crime.
A couple emails anonymously from some deputies that said, hey, this department's crooked.
Knowledge. We found a gun. We found a knife, a very large knife. I'm not talking about just a little knife. I'm talking about a very, very large knife.
So I've heard body locations on multiple occasions.
Oh, that 2 lives were lost. 2 young people that didn't deserve to die died.
And I had somebody who was in jail at the same time somebody else was in jail that had talked about, that kind of ran in that same crew of criminals that was going on over there, that was talking in jail about all the locations that they said they'd taken Molly's remains.
All rights reserved. This has been a production of 722 Media Content.
If you or anyone you know is suffering from a methamphetamine addiction, please contact the American Meth Addiction Hotline.
If you or anyone you know has been the victim of sexual abuse, please contact the National Domestic Violence Hotline.
For any tips relating to the disappearance of Molly Miller and Colt Haynes, please contact 833-4-MOLLY and Colt, and they will be directed to the proper law enforcement agency.
Please check out our website, where you'll find supplemental material and Vi's original song, Take Me Back, written for Molly Miller.